What's up, everybody? So, just going to get right into it because why not? The thing about this series is that we're going to be building and producing this project in real time. And what that means, if you haven't been following along in the Discord, is it means going through all of the steps from ground zero all the way from concept to completion. And granted, there's been a lot of steps that you didn't get to see because I've just been working behind the scenes and trying to do all the things that I can to get the project started and everything like that. And so if you have any questions, by all means, drop it in the comments, let me know. Um, but the most important thing is I keep to my schedule. I know I'm a little all over the place. I told you in the last video I was going to be doing this on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and here it is on Thursday. And I'm just now getting to the stream. So again, please bear with me. But without further ado, let's get into it. Like the title says, we just did block one. Now what? And the thing about that is the blocks were designed to, one, keep everything contained because I knew that we only had a certain level of budget that we could do anything with. And then also from a scheduling standpoint, because this is an independent film, because this is also one of those projects that the budget isn't, full rates. I mean, I'm just being straight up, just being transparent. I had to negotiate different rates with different people to be able to do the things that we needed because at the end of the day, the full rates were a little bit too expensive for me. But that being said, I wanted to make sure that I pay people more than minimum wage, obviously, but also pay them something that made them feel like it was worth their time to do. Because at the end of the day, this is a project that's near and dear to my heart, but for the cast and crew, yeah, they might be like really into it because it's a good project, but at the end of the day, it's just a job, right? And so we just want to make sure that they're taken care of so that they can go off and do their things and feed their families and everything like that. Because as the producer, that is your main goal. Make sure you take care of your crew. And so with block one, in the last video, I mentioned I was deciding whether or not I wanted to do a switch out the location, because remember the house was up for sale right before we were supposed to film. And so I was like, does it make sense to find a new house, or just film everything that we can in this one block? And so for us, it made more sense to film all that we could in this first block at the house. And the reason being was because, one, I didn't want to find a new house because, again, the crew, like the DP, art director, production designer, everybody was like, yes, this house will work really, really well. So there was that. And then also, it's a big block of the script. Like a lot of the stuff that was happening in that first week, or a lot of stuff that was happening in the script happens at the house. And so I figured if I could knock out a lot of the stuff at the house, there's a good chance that everything else that I have to do is kind of supplemental to this. And so this was a good foundation. So one of the biggest challenges that we had to overcome was scheduling, because like I mentioned in the last video, so if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. That's why I keep mentioning it, because I reference a lot of stuff. Everything is building on itself. So I mentioned there were two actors that we had initially cast in the project that were in this block of filming at the house, and they were no longer available, and I could not recast it before I got to filming. And so I think the music might be a little loud. Let me turn this down. Turn this down just a bit. There we go. There we go. Not so loud. Okay, so what did I do? Well, first I had to take those scenes out. So for example, there was a game night scene, right? And it was a big all skate. Everybody was in that scene. And so it was really important to be like, okay, does this scene have to happen at this house? Yes, it's listed as a house in the script, but does it have to be this house? Could it be somebody else's house? And quite honestly, that was one of the big scenes at the house anyway. And so, like I mentioned in the last video, I only had a finite amount of time. And I was running out of time for all of the scenes that we had to do. And so I was like, well, this scene does not have to be in this house. It could be at this character's house or that character's house. And we haven't filmed that yet. So guess what? That's out of the schedule. And I just freed up 2 days to focus on the other pieces. So that was a good move on our part. There was another scene that was supposed to take place like in the bedroom. It was kind of like, not really, but kind of sexy time. And so obviously that you don't want to do that in the main character's bedroom. But again, asking my team, asking myself, does this have to happen at the house? Can it be at a hotel? Yeah, absolutely. So guess what? That scene, because we're running out of time, that was out of the schedule as well. And so the main blocks of time, the biggest challenge I think was time, just making sure that, we were able to get the pieces that we need in this house that could not be anywhere else. Like once we film this house, it's dead. We're never going back there, especially considering that the day after we filmed and we wrapped, the house was essentially up for sale and closing. So we had to get everything in there, everything done. So that was one of the big check marks that we were able to accomplish there. The other half of it was just in terms of the budget. So like I mentioned before, all of the asks from the crew, from the department heads, like the DP, like the production designer, everything that they were asking for was super, super important. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just trying to be greedy, or they're just trying to be greedy. They were really asking, hey, can we do this? Can we have these things so that we can make our lives a little bit better and get through the shots that we had? So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to actually drop a little BTS of the week, because there's a lot of really cool things happening in that scene, or in that block of time. But one of the things that was really important was to accommodate what they were asking, because again, time was not our friend. I think with any independent film, time is not your friend at all. So in this case, like with the DP, he was asking, hey, can we get a dolly for the stuff, because that'll just speed us up in terms of moving the camera, doing some dynamic shots and all of the above, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, we can talk about it. How much does that cost? And so this is more of a detail for the Funding Your Vision Day, but I can just tell you now, the dolly was about $500 a day, and we had 5 days in production in this week. And so $2,500 that I did not budget for, because initially the plan was not to do a dolly. But after thinking about it, after talking with my DP, we both decided that it was beneficial to do so. And granted, it cost me more money, but in the same breath, it's like we were able to fly through all of the things, and beyond that, we were able to get a lot more dynamic shots than just being handheld or trying to use the Ronin inside. And that was the thing, we still used the Ronin. It was actually mounted on top of the dolly, but trying to handhold the dolly, trying to do all the stuff inside, it was just not really conducive for what we were trying to do. So it made sense to get the dolly, but of course there were challenges with that, because one, I have to get a dolly grip, and that's again more money. I had to go and pick up the dolly, and granted, I only had one production truck because that's what Art was using. So I had to coordinate with them, because I didn't have the budget to get both a dolly and also a new production truck to get said dolly. And so we had to coordinate with what art department was doing and work around them unloading and loading up their truck to get their stuff in and out, so we can go pick this dolly up. Now, we were filming near the airport, so this is Hapeville, or Hapville, I don't know how you say it, but I say Hapeville, Georgia, and that's near the airport. And the dolly was in Alpharetta. And so for those of you that are not in Atlanta, going from Hapeville, Georgia to Alpharetta is about an hour one way. And we had to, get there, pick it up, and bring it back. But before we even get to that fire, we had to solve the fire of the insurance, because my insurance my certificate of insurance did not cover the amount that the rental house was requesting. So they wanted, these guys are out of their mind. They wanted $1 million of insurance coverage. And meanwhile, this dolly is only like 300K all in, right? And so I'm just like, why do you need $1 million? Nothing that we're doing is going to, one, put it in jeopardy, and then two, I'm not even renting that much equipment. So at least can we get it down a little bit, because $1 million of coverage was pricing me out of the insurance quote that I had. And so I was able to negotiate with the insurance team, negotiate with the rental house, and we were able to get it down to $500,000. And so yes, check that box. We're able to get the dolly. I had to send my AD over to pick it up, which is funny because he and I both started as a PA, and neither one of us have driven a truck since then. And so it was so funny to see him back in that space, kind of being a PA delivery driver. But yeah, so we got the dolly there. That was a fiasco, but we made it happen. And then we start filming. Everything is going well. Day 1 is a check. Day 2 is a check. Day 3 comes. So in terms of permitting, we didn't have to, according to the rules of Hapeville, Georgia, from what I saw, and maybe I misread it, but according to their website, we did not have to get a permit for filming inside the house. And all of our production gear was either inside the house or on the house property. And I had a location agreement, which is super important to have a location agreement. But I had an agreement with the owner to be able to film all of the stuff at the house. And as long as I didn't go outside those parameters, I was good. So in terms of getting the crew there, we had a pretty sizable crew. And again, I'll show you in the BTS. But we were initially going to rent out, like there was a church nearby, and since we were filming during the week and the church wasn't being utilized that week, we were like, hey, can we use the parking lot? But that plan fell through, and so we just decided to do street parking because there was plenty of it on that particular street. As long as we weren't blocking any driveways, blocking any mailboxes, we should be good to go, or any right of way or anything like that, any traffic flow. So yeah, we parked on the street, and then everything was fine day 1, day 2, and then day 3 comes. We have one of the residents come by, and he's like, hey, somebody's parked in front of my mailbox. It's like, oh, my bad, sir. We can move it. And so find the crew member whose car it belongs to, have that person move the car from in front of the mailbox. Everything should be good to go, right? You would think. But no, I get a visit from code enforcement the next day being like, hey, so-and-so complained about an illegal production. You guys aren't doing X, Y, and Z. You guys didn't follow the rules, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, what rules did we break? And I'm gonna be straight up. The code enforcement officer could not tell me which rules we just broke, because I wasn't breaking any. I'm straight up, I wasn't breaking any. But he was like, hey, so just to appease the residents, keep the calm, keep the peace, basically, can you do X, Y, and Z? So in my case, I had to go down to the Hapeville City Hall, which is thankfully like 6 minutes away from where we were filming. And then I had to, get a rush permit. And it was so funny because, like, with me being the producer and the director, I'm splitting my focus now. And so it's super, 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 super important to have somebody that can handle this type of stuff while you're filming, because with me having to do both, one, that took me away from filming, and then two, I had to come out of that creative space and go into a business producing space. And you know, it's not necessarily hard, it's just frustrating to have to go back and forth sometimes, especially when everybody's relying on you. And from a scheduling standpoint, we could not film until we got this resolved. And granted, we were doing what we could in the meantime, like, you know, Art was still building their sets, camera team was still setting up, the gaffing lighting team was still setting up their lights. That way, when we get the green light, we can press go, and we're not waiting for that. But in the same breath, they were still waiting for me, and this is like a mission critical kind of thing. Like if we didn't get this, we were basically going to get shut down, and that's never good, right? So I couldn't leave. I was actually going to be the person to leave, but my AD was like, "Hey, out of everybody here on set, you cannot leave. Who can we send to take care of this?" Because we didn't have the budget for PAs for this block, and this is why PAs are so important. Like again, going back to my history as a PA and all of my PA brethren and sisterin. I don't know what the woman version of brethren is. My brothers and sisters in the PA world, PAs are one of the most crucial pieces of production, and they're often overlooked, because a lot of people see them as gophers and this, that, and everything else. And no, your PAs are like mission critical 9 times out of 10. And so treat them with the utmost respect because they are going to help you get past some of these fires. So back to the story. I had to find somebody that was available because I didn't have any PAs, but my wardrobe stylist, she had already dressed the first team being the main actors, right? So she was basically done for this block or this set of time, and she didn't have to worry about the next setup because she had already laid out the clothing for that as well. So she was good for a little bit of time. So I was like, "Hey, can you run down to the city hall, talk to somebody?" Because that was the other thing too. Nobody was answering their phones. It was during the week, during regular business hours, and so they should have been able to, there should have been somebody there. I don't know what it was. Maybe they were on lunch. Maybe it was just really busy that day. No idea. But the point is, nobody answered the phone, so I couldn't handle it, and so I had to send somebody to go and do it. So she gets down there, basically has the permit application, yada yada yada, and she brings it back. I fill it out and get that sent off. And it's so funny. I'm in the middle of a shot, and the fire marshal calls me, and she's like, "Hey, so I don't understand this permit. Why are you? Why does this even exist?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm asking myself too." And she's like, "What are you guys doing?" Excuse me. And I was like, "Well, we're just filming a scene between a husband and wife. Sometimes they're arguing, sometimes they're in the kitchen, doing dishes. They're just basic household things, nothing crazy." And she was like, "Oh, so you're not doing any kind of stunts?" "No." "You're not firing any squibs?" "No." "You're not doing anything like that?" "No. Just your basic everyday stuff." "Oh, okay. Well, this is easy. Approved." And so it's crazy to me how much of a hassle there was to get to this point, but in the same breath we were able to overcome it relatively easily as well. Yes, there was money involved with that, so again, we were tapping into the contingency because I didn't budget for a rush fee on a permit because I didn't need it according to the research that I did. And so thankfully I had the contingency, so I used that to pay for it, but it was just like it's just money going out, and it's one of those things where it's like, take a breath. This is what's supposed to happen. You, like I mentioned in the previous video, you try and put out all of the fires that you possibly can, but in the same breath, you're not going to think of everything, and so you have to adapt and you have to adjust. And so it's good to be able to prepare, but it's also good to be able to react and adapt and react. That's a better way of saying it. So long story short, we got that resolved, and so that was another major fire that we were able to squash. And so now we're on day 4, day 5. Everything goes great, and what do you call it? Now we've wrapped, and like the title of the video says, now what? So according to the budget, I have 12 blocks total. This is block 1, and we filmed this the second week of February, like right after the Super Bowl. And here we are in April, and we have yet to film block 2. So what does that mean? Are we just sitting around being like, wish we could go film this? Or is there other things happening to be able to prepare for block 2? That's the key right there. So what we're doing is not only planning block 2, obviously, but also preparing the budget for the, or accommodating the budget based off of some of the challenges that we had in block 1. We have the benefit of hindsight in this sense because we have some time in between our blocks to be able to adjust and reassess some things. And so, like in the case of our contingency plan, we might probably need to allocate a little bit more a little more funds to that, so that, in case of, craziness like that happening, we have a bigger buffer, because like we don't ever want to get it down to zero. Another piece is we still have to recast a couple of those projects. That's the key. We have to make sure that the cast is locked in, the locations are locked in, because that was the other half too. The next block is a bigger block. Like, for example, there's a fashion show, or a fashion event rather. And so we needed a big kind of like warehouse kind of space. The space that I found was beautiful. It was perfect. Again, it was beautiful and perfect. But the owner was like, hey, I'm selling this in January. So this does not exist anymore. And so I have to find a replacement for that. And so this is, it takes time. I'm not a location manager. I have location manager friends who are helping me out, and I appreciate them wholeheartedly, because I was not able to bring on a location manager for this project, again, because of budget. And so that's one of the things that I have to handle as the producer. I'd much rather hire somebody, but I have to be very strategic with where I send the money, because at the end of the day, if it's something that I can do, I'll do it, just to save money and put it somewhere else. And so thankfully I did spend time in the location department on a couple of projects, so I could really see what is done and what needs to happen in that department. And I'm so thankful for the location manager that brought me on, because she's been, phenomenal throughout my entire career. Even when I was a PA, she just kind of took me under my wing, and she's like, hey, I see you like looking at everything. Let me show you what I do, and so that was pretty cool. And so what we're doing now is also taking what we filmed and using that as part of the pitch process for not just the pieces that remain for this project, but also some of the other projects that we have as well. So for example, we're doing a quarterly investor meeting with potential investors and our current investors, right? And the idea is, one, showcase what we've done and say, hey, this is where your money's going. This is what it looks like. This is what we're able to do with the investment that you have. And we're moving closer and closer and closer to the finish line, because investors definitely want to see that. It's like, I don't want to just give you money and just goes into an abyss. What's happening with that, right? So there's that item. And then also item 2 is using this money, or I'm sorry, using the footage that we captured, all of the stuff, to really showcase to like potential distributors and other further along the line conversations, saying, hey, this is what we're working on. Do you want to be a part of it? And so that's where we are right now. And it's been a lot of work, a lot of craziness, a lot of conversations, a lot of everything. But in the same breath, it's one of those things where we definitely are moving forward. Like, I have a person that was like, yo, this is really, really good. I can definitely see you, and your imprint on this. But I'm starting to get people's reactions to what we filmed, and that's really cool to see too. So for example, there's an argument between the husband and wife. I mentioned that earlier, right? And after we filmed, so many different people came up to me and was like, oh man, I can connect to this argument because of X, Y, and Z. And each person's reason was different. And I thought that was really cool, because we all have different life experiences, but we all have similar ones as well. And so even though we come from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different everything, right? There are still things that we can connect to. And so it was really cool to see all of these different people coming up and saying, hey, I can really connect with that. And so, one, I'm thankful to hear that, because it means that the writing was well done. The acting was really well done. Like, the actor, I told him, like, dude, this is some of the best acting I've ever seen from you, right? But it shows that the writing's well done, the acting is well done, the directing, my part, yay, is well done. and like the camera lighting, like all of it is coming together, and people are just getting immersed into this project, as opposed to being like, oh, well, that's not working, that's not working. Like they're turning off their, I don't want to say turning off their brain, but they're letting go of everything and just staying locked into what's happening in that moment. And I thought that was really cool to see. And so my producer brain is like, huh, that is data that I can use for, saying who's gonna, watch this. Because at the end of the day, we could do all of this work, but if nobody watches it, what's the point, right? And so we have to be very mindful of all of these different pieces. Yes, it is super important to take step, and then the next step, right? And that's what we've done to get to this point. And so now it's like, okay, now what's the next step? So the next step for me is to lock down the two actors that I have to have for this next block. And then also lock down that location, and then also lock down the next level of the budget, because we still have money left. It's not like I'm broke, but we just need to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game, because I want to keep going with everything. So that's what it is for me. Stay tuned. I know I said a lot in this, 30 minutes or whatever that I've been talking. And so I'm going to end it here because, one, I got to go pick up my daughter. This is always like whenever I film it or whenever I stream it this time, it's always I got to pick up my daughter around too. But also, I want to keep these relatively short. Unless we get, a lot of people commenting and stuff like that, I'll answer questions. But I don't want to just sit there and talk forever, right? So stay tuned for the next bit. We got a lot of things to talk about. We still got to talk about the budget, and how we're going to fund that. Also, for anybody interested, how I actually got those investors and how I'm using day trading to fill in some of the gaps in terms of just financial stuff. And then we'll talk about some of the other projects that we have going on as well. So just stay tuned. It's happening. I'm staying focused. I'm staying obedient to the schedule, and so, yeah, it's going to happen. But let me know what comments you have, what questions you have, and I'm more than happy to answer it. I'll keep you posted. If you're not in the Discord, please join it. I'll leave you a link in the chat somewhere or in the description, and that's where most of the information is being disseminated. And I might even actually post some of the frame grabs from the shoot, just so you can kind of see what's going on. And we can talk about that too. Like my gaffer, he sent over some of his breakdowns as far as how he and his team lit the space. And that's always fun to talk about, even though I'm not a gaffer. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about this project, but we're, again, I'm doing this series just so I can talk about the steps from a producing and directing standpoint. What are some of the challenges? I'm not going to this is all mostly the producing side right now. I'm not going to get into the directing until after the project is released, just because I can't really answer a lot of those questions until, one, you've seen it, and then two, I'm not spoiling the story. So yeah, but we'll get there. But with that ado, I'm out of here. Peace.